Hey guys, here's another video and today's theme is Endrick really all that? In the match against Uruguay in the quarterfinals of the Copa America, Endrick, the Brazilian promise and star of Real Madrid, made a total of one successful pass in 90 minutes of play. This raised a lot of discussions about his performance and potential. Yes, it's true that the penalty shootout defeat wasn't entirely his fault. Eder Militao and Douglas Luiz missed their penalty kicks, which contributed to the elimination of the Brazilian team. However, I wanted to focus a little more on Endrick's specific performance during regulation time and what that means for the expectations we all have for him. Endrick is seen as a prodigy, a rare jewel of Brazilian football with a bright future ahead of him, especially with his move to Real Madrid. But, like every young talent, he also faces moments of difficulty and pressure. The match against Uruguay was one of those moments. Despite having only made one pass, we need to consider other factors: the pressure of the game, the quality of the opponents, and the player's own development phase. Harshly criticizing such a young player for an isolated performance may be unfair. All great players have gone through difficult times, and often it was these challenges that shaped them to become even better. The important thing is to observe how Endrick will react to this criticism and adversity. Will he use this as motivation to improve and prove himself, or will he let it get him down? I believe that the media has the power to raise players that goes far beyond their own ability. We have examples spread across Europe, such as Rainier and Antony, who show us how a 10-minute video on YouTube showing the best moments of a certain player can deceive and create a false image of a star about him. Selecting highlights can mask a player's weaknesses and inconsistencies, presenting him as an exceptional talent even if his actual performance is not as consistent or impactful. This leads us to an important reflection about Endrick. And now I ask you, and highlighting here that this is not a personal criticism, what did Endrick do to wear the number 9 shirt for the biggest team in the world? Brazil's number 9 shirt carries a gigantic historical weight, being worn by world football legends such as Romario, Ronaldo Fenomeno, and many others. These players not only had talent, but also repeatedly proved their worth in major competitions and decisive moments. In the case of Endrick, we are talking about a promising young man who is still at the beginning of his career. He certainly showed flashes of brilliance at youth level and in his first steps into professional football, both in Brazil and on his move to Real Madrid. However, what really justifies the confidence and responsibility of wearing the number 9 shirt for the Brazilian team? Has he already shown enough consistency, maturity, and performance to take on this role? This pressure can be a huge burden for such a young player. The expectations placed on him by the media and fans can, on the one hand, motivate him to reach his full potential, but on the other hand, it can also overwhelm him and affect his development. We see many young players who were labeled as the next great player and ended up not living up to expectations, often because they did not have the time or space to grow in a more natural and less pressured way. In Endrick's case, it is essential that there is a balance between expectations and the reality of his development. He needs time, patience, and an environment that encourages his growth as a player and person. Perhaps, instead of a meteoric rise, a more gradual and careful path would be ideal so that he can truly show his full potential without being crushed by the weight of expectations. I made a video about Endrick's story, saying that he was a promise from the youth ranks, that he had a promising future, and I really agree with that. However, the future is not now, and it is clearly not ready. Who's to say if one day he will be? Brazil has, and will always have extra-class players. I believe it is in the DNA of Brazilians. However, you must understand that not every boy who scores 40 goals in 40 games in the under-17s will be a new Neymar, or as they were calling Endrick, the new Pelé. Endrick is, without a doubt, an emerging jewel of Brazilian football. From a young age, he showed impressive skills and an ability to score goals that caught the attention of scouts and big clubs around the world. His trajectory in the youth categories was brilliant, accumulating goals and awards that justified the hype surrounding his name. But it's crucial to remember that the leap from youth teams to professional football, especially at top clubs and national teams, is huge. The transition from a young prodigy to an established player is not automatic. It requires not only talent, but also mental and physical adaptation to the level of competitiveness, pressure, and expectations that professional football requires. Endrick, like any young talent, needs time to mature, learn, and evolve. The path to becoming an elite player is filled with challenges and obstacles, and not everyone can turn their youthful potential into adult success. Brazil, with its rich history of producing exceptional talent, will always have a promising crop of young players. However, the reality is that only a small fraction of these young people manage to achieve the status of superstars like Neymar or Pelé. Premature comparisons and labels such as the new Pelé can be harmful, creating unrealistic expectations that, if not met, can negatively affect the player's career and confidence. It is unacceptable for a team like Brazil to have a striker wearing the shirt that once belonged to R9 or Adriano or Romario, not making more than one pass in 90 minutes. It is simply unacceptable. Pointing out here, I don't believe this fiasco was his fault, but this says a lot about the power of the media to generate money through the creation of false stars. That's it. That's my specific opinion on this aspect of the game. I plan to make a more detailed video about the game itself later. Tell me what you thought of the video, comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Until later.